Tina and I am back, and I am here with another Get Ready With Me makeup tutorial featuring this very bold and colorful look inspired by spring, because it is now officially spring and I can't wait for the weather to get warmer. We had snow in New York yesterday, so I don't know what's going on, but spring better hurry up and warm the place up, because I am ready for the spring blooms and the warm weather and the lighter clothes and no jacket. So I am ushering spring on with this bright, bold look that was actually inspired by one of the Smashbox Cover Shot eyeshadow palettes. This one here, it's the bold Cover Shot palette. It has all the colors that I would wear, right? Right? This is my palette. If I had to choose any of the palettes, this would be the one. Each of the palettes have 8 different shades in them, with 2 larger shades at the top and then 6 smaller eyeshadows. And I did a full haul video featuring these shades, and I showed swatches, so you can check that out if you're interested. I'll link it down below so you can check them out. But this is the palette that a lot of people wanted to see me put to use, and they wanted to see it in action. So if you want to see how I accomplished this bold, colorful look, then stay tuned and I'll talk to you soon. Hey there, guys. So as usual, we're starting off with a clean, freshly washed face, but this time around I already filled in my brows. And if you want to see a brow tutorial, there is one linked below in the description box. So we're just going to go ahead and start with our eyeshadow. And the first thing I'm going in with is a primer. This one is the Urban Decay Anti-Aging Primer Potion, and I always apply an eyeshadow primer because I have very oily lids and my lids will start creasing and greasing, and we don't need any of that. Next, I'm going in with my Makeup Forever Full Cover Concealer. This is shade number 12, and I'm going to apply that directly beneath my brows to act as a highlight under my brows to help clean up the shape, and also on my lids to act as an eyeshadow base. I'm going to blend this out first using my Anastasia Beverly Hills number 18 concealer brush, which is just a detail shaped concealer brush, and this will help to create a very sharp outline on the underside of our brows, which will help to cover up any stray hairs that weren't tweezed, and it will also act as a highlight underneath that brow bone area. Next, I'm grabbing my Real Techniques Deluxe crease brush to blend out the rest of this concealer all over our lids. This is going to help to cover up any discoloration. Sometimes we can get broken capillaries on our eyelids, or it's just a different shade on our eyelids. So I'm covering up any discoloration, and it will also act as an eyeshadow base and give our eyeshadow something to stick to. I'm just going to blend out the excess using my L'Oreal Contour Blender. This is just a sponge just to make sure everything is nice and even and set in place. And then to remove any excess moisture from the concealer, I'm going to grab a translucent powder. This is from Laura Mercier, and I'm just grabbing it on the same sponge, just on the tip, and I'm going to press this over the concealer that we have on our eyelids. This will set the concealer again and remove any of the excess moisture and tackiness that will be left behind, because we're using matte shadows today, so I don't want there to be any excess moisture lingering, because that can grab onto the eyeshadows and cause it to look a little bit patchy in certain spots. Now that we have our base in place, I'm going to grab my Smashbox Cover Shot eyeshadow palette. This is the ABLAZE version, and I'm just grabbing the matte creamy beige shade in the palette. This is going to act as our transition shade, so I'm just going to blend that in the crease area back and forth using my Eddie Funkhouser large blending brush. Again, we're just creating a blending space in that crease area, and really you could have skipped this step, but I wanted to make sure that we had a transition shade over the translucent powder that we placed down on the lids before. I'm going to grab another Cover Shot palette. This is the palette in bold, and this one has bold, bright, colorful matte shades, and the first shade I'm going to pick up is the yellow shade, which is bold. Again, it's just a bright sunshine yellow, and I'm going to apply that back and forth in my outer crease and outer V area using windshield wiper motions and my Eddie Funkhouser large crease brush, and I'm going to slowly build up this color. As you can see, it's a pretty bold yellow, so I want to slowly build up the intensity so we don't go too overboard with the shade in that brow bone crease area. Going back into the palette, I'm going to grab the bold orange shade on that Eddie Funkhouser brush again, and I'm just applying this on the inner crease area now, doing a small semicircle shape, going back and forth to build up the dimension. And I'm blending it in the middle with that yellow shade. So I'm just slowly building up the intensity. Again, I don't want this color to be too overwhelming at first. So I'm just lightly picking up some color, applying a little bit at a time using that back and forth motion. Then I'll pick up just a little bit more and go around the edges and the middle of the shades just to make sure everything is nice and blended. And you can take your time with this. Just do very soft light strokes to blend that color out. Now I'm going back into the palette and I'm grabbing the red shade, which is Fling. It's a really beautiful cherry red shade, and I'm grabbing that on an Anastasia A25 blending brush. It's a smaller tapered blending brush, and I'm applying this red shade on the inner lid area now, just below the crease, and blending it towards the middle of the lid, but I'm leaving a gap between the middle of the lid and that inner tear duct area. Just slowly building the color up, and I'm doing it on both sides, and I'm avoiding the very inner corner as well, and I'm pulling the color upwards a little bit just to blend it in with that orange. And then I'll go back in that crease area just to make sure everything is blended, and I'll add a little bit of red just to add some vibrancy to that orange and yellow we already placed down. Now once we have that in place, I'm going to go in with the teal green shade from the palette. It's like an aqua green shade. It's called Sellout, and I'm gonna use the same Anastasia brush and apply that just to the outer lid and outer V area now, keeping below the yellow somewhat on that brow bone area. I'm not trying to cover up that yellow, so I'm just slowly building up the shade to get the dimension and slowly blending. So again, we don't mix too many of the colors together. We still want all the colors to stand out on their own. I will go back in with a little bit of the yellow over that green just to make sure that that yellow still has its place, and use it to help blend out the edges as well, so the colors blend seamlessly together. Now we're going into the blue shade, which is Poolside, on an Eddie Funkhouser eyeshadow brush, and I'm applying that now a little bit further onto the outer lid area, and it's a bold, intense blue, as you can see. I was surprised that it showed up that much because it's so beautiful, so bold, so intense. So I think this palette so far has been really performing well. That blue is really great, and I'm just going to wipe my brush off, then go in and slowly blend around the edges because it's a little bit more intense than I intended it to be. So I'm just using the edge of the brush to blend into the green and the yellow that we have on that outer V area. You want to use just slow strokes, little buffing strokes, circular motions, just to blend those colors together without getting too messy. And then I'll go in with a clean blending brush and go around the edges in the brow bone space, so again we blend out any harsh lines. Now I'm going back into the palette and I'm grabbing the shimmery champagne pink shade, which is called Techno, and I'm applying that just on the center of the lid. But as you can see, this is not really picking up as intensely as I wanted it to, and I'm using a Kat Von D Shade and Light eyeshadow brush, which is a really dense synthetic brush that usually picks up color, but on this shade it's not really performing as well as I would like to. So I'm gonna grab a more intense shade to intensify the center of that lid. This is the Milk Cream Pigment in the shade Jam Room. These were sent to me, and so far I have been loving them. They are so long lasting and budge proof, smudge proof. It's intense and it's crazy because when you swatch them, they don't even come off your arm. It's crazy. But this is like a shimmery light lavender shade, and I'm applying that again to the center of the lid, just lightly building that up so we get the desired intensity. It's a cream pigment, so I'm going very slowly with it. And it does give you some time to work with it before it completely sets down. I'm going around the edges using my pencil brush from Morphe just to blend out the edges and blend it in with the other shades on the lid because we don't want to have any harshness. And we definitely want to make sure we have a blend between that middle shade and the rest of the shades on the lid. And to make sure everything blends together, I'm just going to go around the edge of the colors, building up the pink, the red, the orange, and the blue to blend in with that center shade, because again I want to make sure that everything is seamless and there are no harsh lines. And with a cream pigment mixed with powder shadows, you can get a little bit of harshness. So I'm trying to blend around the edges to remove any of that harshness from the center of the lid. Next, I'm going in with a creamy yellow ivory shade from ColourPop. This is the shade Locked and Loaded on that pencil brush, and I'm applying it on that inner tear duct area to act as a highlight, just to brighten up that inner tear duct area, because these colors can be a little bit overwhelming, so I want that inner tear duct to kind of be open. Now I'm going in with one of the Stila Magnificent Metals eyeshadows. I just can't get over this. I've been using these nonstop. I think you've heard me say that in a couple of tutorials, but I'm grabbing one of the new shades. This is Sunset Cove, and it's a shimmery pinky shade with iridescent champagne gold sparkles that also reflect a little bit of teal green. So I'm applying that just over the center of the lid to really intensify and make that center pop. And again, blending that out with the pencil brush, which gives me a little bit more precision with that color. And then I'll go around the edges again with the red and the blue to make sure that we blend everything together, because again, that glitter can really stand out and be a little bit too intense. So just going around the colors to make sure that we have a nice seamless transition from glitter to color and from matte to shimmer. Now once we're done with all that blending, we can go and work on the lower lash line. So I'm grabbing the blue from the palette again and going along the lower lash line area on the outer space using my MAC 242 small shader brush just to deepen up and define that outer lid. Then I'm going in with this magenta purple also from the palette and applying it on the inner lower lash line area and inner tear duct with the same 242 brush. Now I'm going to go ahead and do some work on my face. So I'm grabbing my Urban Decay Optical Illusion Complexion Primer, which is a little bit more forgiving than the De-Slick Primer, which can get a little bit dry on your skin, especially if you don't have really oily skin. So I'm applying this all over my skin and just blending it in. It helps to blur the skin and even out the skin tone. And then I'm going to grab my Stila Stay All Day Foundation. This is the shade Deep. And I'm just going to blend that all over my skin. I think it's tan actually. This shade is tan. And I'm going to blend it all over my skin using my Marc Jacobs The Face 3 brush. And I've really been enjoying this foundation again. They have reformulated it and put it in new packaging. And I just love how it makes my skin look nice and flawless without being too heavy and feeling too greasy on my skin. Next, I'm going in with my concealer. This is the Naked Skin Complete Coverage Concealer, Weightless Complete Coverage Concealer in the shade Dark Neutral. And I'm just applying that directly under my eyes to help cover up some of that darkness. And I'll blend it out using my Hourglass Vanish Foundation brush. Just tapping it out and lightly swiping it under my eyes to blend out that concealer and blend it in with the foundation. Now since we have the concealer in place, I'm going to go back in and build up that lower lash line color. As you can see, we lost some of that when we applied the concealer. So I'm just brightening up and intensifying the blue and the magenta purple that we have on that lower lash line area. And then I'm going in with the blending brush just to blend around the edges to make sure it looks a little bit more hazy and not too harsh on that lower lash line area. I'll also go in and build up the blue that we had on that outer V area and touch up some of the colors where we lost some of the intensity from the blending. And I just looked back at the colors and decided I needed some more of that blue. So I'm just popping on some more and just tapping it in and pressing it in, not doing too much blending with this color because I don't want to lose the intensity. I'll just lightly tap around the edges to make sure that we blend out any harshness. Next, I'm going in with this Inglot Loose Pigment. It is the shade 118 and it's one of their chunky, flakier shades. It's a light peachy gold shade and it's really shimmery and beautiful. So I'm popping that on my inner tear duct area because again, I looked back at the eyes and said I needed a little bit more intensity and shimmer on that inner tear duct. So I'm just applying that with the Morphe pencil brush and blending it out. And once we're done with that, we can go in with our mascara. Again, this is my Too Faced Better Than Sex mascara. And I'm just making sure I apply that to my upper lashes and cover up any fallout that we may have on those lower lashes before we go in with our false lashes. On my lower lashes, I'm using my MAC Extended Play Giga Black Lash Mascara. again, making sure we really intensify those lashes so they stand out against the color on that lower lash line area. For my liner, I'm actually going to use this Sephora matte waterproof liner. This is the shade number 36, Staying Alive. It's just a bold teal shade. And these liners are perfect. Guys, if you want some nice, bold, colorful liners that really work well on the lower waterline, get these ones from Sephora. They're really nice. It's a bold teal shade, as you can see. And it really makes my lower waterline pop out, right? Now I'm applying my brow highlight. This is the shade Mirage from Makeup Geek. And I'm applying that directly under the brows using my MAC 252 brush. And just blending it out and blending it downwards into the shades on the brow bone area. For my lashes, I'm using the Kiss lashes in the style Flirty, and I'm just going to pop those on my upper lash line area, secure them in place. I am not using a liner, so I do have to make sure that I get right against the lash line with these lashes. And then once I have the lashes in place, I'll go ahead and pinch them together using my Shu Uemura S curler, and this just helps to blend my natural lashes with the false eyelashes and give a seamless blend. And I need to do this more, especially when I don't use a upper lash line liner, because I want to make sure that everything looks really blended and seamless. Now we'll go ahead and set the under eye area. I'm using my La Prairie loose setting powder. This is the shade Translucent 2. I'm applying that right under my eyes using my contour blender again from L'Oreal. Just making sure I set my concealer in place, and then I'll set the rest of my face with my Ultimate Definition Powder Foundation from Urban Decay, which is my favorite foundation powder, and I pounce it into my skin using my Tarte large powder player brush. I absolutely love this powder, and it just gives an even more flawless, even finish to my skin. And then once that's done, I'm going in with my blush. This is one of the Tarte Amazonian Clay blushes. It's in the shade Tipsy, and I'm applying that with one of my Tarte dual-ended brushes from the holiday set. This brush is so soft. I really love the Tarte brushes that they've come out with lately. They're very soft and very, very silky against the skin. So I'm just popping that blush on the cheeks. It's a bright, almost coral salmon shade. It's a really bold shade to tie in with the bold colors on the lid. And then once I'm done with that, of course, we have to go ahead and add some dimension to the skin. So I'm using my Becca Contour shade. This is the pressed version. And I'm using my Sonia Kashuk brush from their striped holiday set. This was on sale, guys. You could have gotten the set for $14.95. I don't know if it's still available, but check it out. And I'm just applying that to the hollows of my cheeks. And then I'm going to grab a little bit of that on a Smith blending brush and apply that down the bridge of my nose just to create a little bit of dimension and give my nose some shape, because that foundation can kind of wash out your skin and remove any shape and dimension at all. And I do want to add a little bit of warmth to my skin, so I'm grabbing my pressed powder from NARS. This is the shade Valley, and I'm just applying this on the temples using my Wayne Goss brush. And I'm using a separate shade because this is more of a bronzy warm tone versus the contour powder. Now we're going to outline our lips. I'm using the shade Chestnut from MAC. This is one of my favorite brown lip liner pencils. And I'm just going to outline my lips just a little bit, not too much, just give a little bit of shape and outline to the lips. And I'm very carefully creating that outline and that contour to give our lips a nice pouty shape. And once I have the shape outline, I'll just rub my lips together to blend out the harshness of the line so it's not just an intense dark brown line on our lips. And I applied that lip liner first because we're going in with a very light nude shade. This is from Smashbox. It's one of their always on liquid lipsticks. It's in the shade In Demand, and it's a very light peachy nude shade. And with darker complexions, you do need to use a darker lip liner just to make sure these lighter nudes actually blend in a little bit more seamlessly with your skin. And I'll press my lips together to blend it in even more with that lip liner. And I'll further blend it out with my fingertips just to make sure we blur the lines where we have the liquid lipstick and the lip liner. I'm going over the top of this lipstick with a little bit of my Galactic lip gloss. This is in the shade Prettiest, and I'm just applying that, just a little bit of it, because I don't want to lose the full matte of the liquid lipstick. I just want to add a little bit of sheen, so I'm applying very little just to coat my lips and really make them look nice and juicy without being too glossy or too globby. And I'll just really blend that in with my lips so it looks nice and seamless again. And then I'm going to add a little bit of highlight, because we can't forget the highlight, right? This is the Becca Soft Focus Blurring Powder, and I love using this as a soft finishing highlight. You can apply this on multiple parts of your skin without it being too glittery or shimmery, which is what I really love about this powder. So I'm just applying it to the high points of my cheeks. You can even dampen the powder to get it to really stand out, but I'm just going to blend it out, and I really love the soft focus effect that it gives with that little bit of sunshine sheen. And I'm using a Goss blending brush just to blend that over my skin. And here you have the completed look, which I absolutely love. I am always just in my element when I use bold, colorful shades, and this palette was so much fun to work with. It was easy to use as well. The shades blended really nicely, and they're actually a lot more pigmented than I expected. So they're definitely a great find at a decent price for what you get. Alright guys, so here you have it. This is the completed look, and I really enjoyed working with this palette, and I was pleasantly surprised that they performed so well. Blended out beautifully, had great pigmentation. I had no issues with any of the shades showing up, and I could build upon them, and they really pop on my eyelids. So I would highly recommend this palette. If you are someone who was looking to incorporate color in your looks and you didn't want to really splurge on a really expensive palette, but you still wanted to get a good palette with beautiful colors, I think this is a good one. It has some bright colors in here that you can just put on the lower lash line or just incorporate on the outer V or outer C of a look. You know, just do a relatively neutral look and pop a little color on that outer V area. I think this palette is a great one because it's relatively inexpensive and it's not packed with too much product. So it's not like you're gonna waste your money and waste your time, because you have smaller eyeshadows. It's a small pocket-sized palette, and you can just incorporate it any way you wish in a look. So I think it's a great palette actually, and I was again pleasantly surprised because I was expecting it to do pretty decently, but I mean, these eyeshadows pack a punch, and I just really love how they worked out. So if you're interested in that palette, I really like it. As usual, I'm gonna go ahead and leave a full list of the products down below in the description box, as well as links to where you can pick them up. Now, these links are affiliate links, and they link to Sephora, Ulta, or Nordstrom, where I can generate any link for any product that I use in my videos and just any product that I have in my collection pretty much. I'm not directly affiliated with any of the brands, and I'm not being paid for using them in a video. And if you make a purchase through my affiliate links, I do get a small commission off your purchase. It doesn't change the price of the product. I just get a little cut of the actual sale. Now, if you're uncomfortable with that, feel free to shop any way you choose, whether you shop online or in store, and just pick these palettes up. Again, it doesn't change the price, it's just that I get a commission. So if you do shop through my links, thank you so much for your support. It does help me to put back into the channel, and I do truly appreciate that support. I will also leave links to my Instagram and Twitter page where you definitely should be following me along. And until my next video, which will be very soon, I'll talk to you. Bye guys.